I'd say you have to respect a man who tries to rename the hero of the comic series he writes for Ogilvy Maurice Hedgehog, but I don't respect this man at all. The star of the day is one Kenneth Penders II, the former story writer, penciler, and artist for Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog comics. He introduced a whole realm of new characters and lore into the Sonic comics universe, which, to be fair, there wasn't a lot of lore in the games at the time, at least when he started back in the 90s. The comics themselves were based off Sonic Sat.AM, which I don't know a whole lot about, admittedly, but I do know that Sonic gets a squirrel girlfriend. I can't believe the animals are fucking straight. It's Pride Month. We need some gay animals in here. Anyway, I'll get right into the characters. That's the most important part, after all, I guess. Okay. You'd think Sonic was the most important character here, wouldn't you? He's actually not. You buffoon. You adorable fool. The title character is actually a side character in the games, and the hero of Penders' story is actually Knuckles the Echidna for some reason. Why? Who knows? Maybe Knuckles' in-game deal resonated with Penders more? We've seen a lot of different characterizations for Knuckles over the years. We've seen the stern but somewhat gullible guardian of the Master Emerald, the adorable muscle brain from Sonic Boom, the leader of the resistance against Eggman in Sonic Forces, and whether or not he's good friends with Sonic kind of varies from game to game. In this iteration, though, Knuckles is the Jesus. As in, he literally got superpowers from his dad and walked on water at one point. Speaking of his dad, Knuckles' dad Locke is an important side character. So when Knuckles was in his egg, because he is an echidna after all, Locke had a prophetic dream about his unborn son's future. Somehow this led him to shoot radiation lasers at the egg. Now Knuckles has mutant Knuckles. This incident is now lovingly referred to in the fandom as "had a bad dream, better microwave the baby." It's equal parts funny and really, really weird. I just really want to know the logic. The fucked up logic. Then later in Knuckles' life, Locke walked into a wall of flames, making his son think he was the last living echidna. It's actually a hologram though, and Locke is completely fine. Must have been a hot room or something, because, usually fire is, heat. And if it was a hologram fire, would it have had heat? Plot hole ding. It's actually kind of horrifying that he, did that. And yet Locke is treated like he's justified for making his son think he was alone in the world. And I give that a rating of a hearty, get professional help. Also, Tails. All I remember is he combines with all of the other Tailses from all the other dimensions to become Titan Tails, which is like a kaiju-sized buff Tails, in order to beat up a 10,000-year-old business mammoth. My thoughts on this is, why'd they make the smart boy big and buff? Surely this would have been more appropriate for, say, the most important echidna alive, Knuckles the Echidna. The one known as the big buff boy. Robotnik is still a thing here as well.
Dr. Eggman keeps looking at me with this shit-eating grin on his face. I don't know what to do about it. I'm a little bit intimidated, to be quite frank.
At first he's old-timey Robotnik, who then dies, and is replaced by an alternate universe counterpart who looks like modern Eggman. Also, his real name, in the comics at least, is Julian Kintobor of the House of Ivo, according to the Sonic Wiki. Okay. There's a rather important thing that I, as a lady female, would like to mention. The girls. There aren't that many in the Archie Sonic comics. Princess Sally leads the resistance movement against Dr. Robotnik called the Freedom Fighters, and all in all seems like a pretty cool character. In the comics, she gets damseled and gets annoyed with a fucking skunk. And then at the end of the story is making out with him because apparently getting visibly annoyed with the man's antics is flirting on the woman's part. This is one of my ultra pet peeves. Like, many other women and AFAB people have had to deal with men who refuse to see the signs of that a woman or AFAB person is just plain not interested. And pieces of media, which, let's face it, are often written by men who don't really talk to, like, actual women, only validates this way of thinking. Furthermore, this is a children's comic as well, so some kids have probably gone on to think that the fucking skunk's way of thinking isn't okay to be. This turns into a shoehorned-in love triangle between the fucking skunk, Sonic, and Sally. There's no real reason for Sally to be into the fucking skunk. The heteronormativity is intense! Plus, later on, we get the Sally dip story. Sally takes a dip for plot-important reasons. The cover of this story is really uncomfortable to look at. No, I'm not showing it to you. But I would like to remind you all politely that, Sally is a teenager. Don't be weird about teens! Stop being weird about teens! She also gets the DreamWorks animal proportions, which is also uncomfortable. Why can't a female cartoon animal's gender indicators be like name, pronouns, maybe voice if it's a TV show or a movie? My sole comfort is that this particular piece of media that I'm discussing today is old, and media in general is moving away from this trope. Next up is Bunny. She's a half robot, half bunny. I like her. She deserved better. It was implied that she did the diddly with Sonic's evil alternate universe counterpart. I hate that. The whole consent situation there is iffy because she thought Anti-Sonic was, well, Sonic. Also, my girl Amy Rose isn't much of a player in Penders' Sonic comics, but considering she's my favourite, I'm, like, relieved. Okay, so I did try and give Mobius 25 years later a fair shake. However, you can definitely tell it was written by a specific class of nerdy baby boomer. The cast of Sonic the Hedgehog has grown up. Most of them are straight, with children, with the exception of Rotor, who has an echidna husband. I don't know if it's actually mentioned in the comic proper. I gave up on reading it. It was bad. Even our beloved anti-authoritarian hero Sonic has somewhat unwillingly settled into the role of king. Also, the way all the women are drawn still makes me wildly uncomfortable. Also, a lot of pages are dedicated to everyone's dinner plans for some reason. Also, the men get to talk about the serious things going on, and the girls are like, tee, dinner plans, let's have a sleepover and talk about boys. I like to nag my husband, which feels gross to me. Why can't Sally talk about the important things going on? She seems to, like, actually care about stuff, but she just nags Sonic into caring about stuff. The first part of the story focuses on Lara Sue. Did I mention all the girl echidnas have weird hyphenated names? They tend to be like 4 or 5 letters long hyphen single syllable name. Apparently it's a Superman thing. I didn't read Superman. Like Lara Sue, Julie Sue, and Linda, whose name I have no idea how to pronounce. I don't know why Kenders Penders named one of his characters after a legal term, but like, okay. The boys are body parts, the girls are weird sci-fi names. Because Knuckles gets a baby half-brother called Kneecaps. It doesn't feel even slightly like a Sonic series. It feels like a horny baby boomer who watched a lot of Star Trek and read a lot of classic sci-fi novels. I say horny because all the women have the, like, classic comic book lady proportions, and the men are either, like, normal Sonic character proportions or, like, human man proportions. Like, I saw fucking Vector, and he was just a fella with a crocodile head. I hate that. So in 2009, the star of our show sued Sega of America for the rights to his characters and concepts that he made for Archie Comics in order to use them himself after his departure. Surprisingly, the rights were actually given to Penders, and these ideas were legally recognized as his property. In the aftermath of this, the Archie Sonic Comics universe went boom. This was called the Super Genesis wave in universe. All of the characters and concepts created by Penders were removed entirely. It was essentially a complete story reboot, removing everything written by previous writers and bringing everything more in line with the games. He also sued EA for the story of Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, because some of the characters were clearly heavily inspired by his echidna story from the comics, particularly Julie Sue. He even tried to lay claim to the rights to shade one of the echidnas from the game on Twitter, even though I don't think intellectual property law works like that. Not a lawyer, no idea about copyright law. He's just being a little goofus. He knows Sega probably don't want to use shade in a game again, lest he, sues their butts again. He also made art of Julie Sue halvesies with Shade the Echidna, saying he was going to make an NFT of the art, which, as of right now, the case involving EA was dismissed and he'll be unable to file again unless Shade gets used again, which is probably unlikely because Sonic Chronicles didn't get great reception. It's not even a monumental flop like Sonic 2006 was. I'm eternally spicy that I bought a copy off eBay and couldn't get it to work. I wanted to stream it for science. So I doubt they'll be using the characters again or care about that particular game really. Conclusion. I wish I had the self-confidence, the absolute titanium ballsack to create things like this man has. He got given the minimal lore of early Sonic games, and even as the lore grew into the 2000s, he just carried on, I guess. I admire the absolute gall of this man to try and lay claim to as much Sonic stuff as he can as his own. Even if one of these characters technically isn't his, but also, his stories aren't that good, in my opinion. And he needs to stop being weird about teens. I mean, this guy changed a real poem about World War II to fit into his weird Sonic universe that he's created, and I have very strong opinions about using that kind of thing for your own purposes. This is also somewhat bearing in mind that Penders started at Archie in 1993 and stayed until 2006. Any way you slice it, these stories are dated and the world's moved on since then. I just wanted to yap about that. This man for 20 minutes. I don't know how long this is. Also, never forget the Drugs Awareness Bee. Farewell, Drugs Awareness Bee. You live for 2 pages. Comment down below if you cared about the Drugs Awareness Bee. Anyway, thank you for watching. I got spicy mad at some points in this video. You can probably tell. Next video is probably going to be a bit happier. Bring me more joy. I need more joy in my life. And if you like this video, thumbs up, give it a like, comment, I don't know. Do what you like. I'm not your dad. Goodbye.